Welcome into another edition of Meet the Bird Gang. I'm your host today, Jacob Kronberg. We have a very special guest, a former Orleans Firebird from the 2019 team. Now he's a professional baseball player in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. It's Zach Britton. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Let's go right to draft day. It's June 11th, day 2 of the 2020 MLB draft. Walk me through what happened when you got selected. Did you get a phone call ahead of time? Did they just call your name on the air?
Yeah. So there was a couple of different teams I thought I would land to that I had talked to before the draft. A little earlier on in the draft, and I got a couple calls, and I thought I was going to a couple different places, and then my agent calls me and told me I was going to Toronto in the 5th. Right as the 4th round, right after they're picking the 4th round. So yeah, I mean, I knew for about the whole 4th round that I was going there unless somebody picked me in the 4th, and I was super anxious to get to that pick, obviously. But no, when it happened, I was beyond excited. I couldn't even put it into words.
Who were you with during the draft?
Just me and my mom and dad.
So what's your parents' reaction when they hear your name or heard the news?
They jumped up and they hugged each other, and then they hugged me. But me, I just kind of dropped my head. I couldn't believe it. It was a surreal moment that I've been waiting for since I was 7, 8 years old. So it was kind of a realization moment that all the hard work I put in up until this point just kind of paid off for the time being, and I was just overwhelmed with emotion. It was awesome.
It's a big time accomplishment. Congratulations from me and the entire Orleans organization.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you're in Toronto. They told you in the 4th round they were going to take you in round 5. Had you spoken to the Blue Jays organization prior to the draft at all?
No. I had a lot of Zoom calls with a lot of different teams and with a lot of different front offices, and Toronto was one that I didn't really have contact with their front office at all leading up to the draft. And their area guy, Nate Murray, he's awesome, great guy. Texted me about a week before the draft, and just it kind of sent me a few links to some stuff about the organization. And, I looked at it and we texted back and forth, and but no, we just had a conversation, not really about the draft at all, really. And their hitting coordinator had sent me a message and just talked about some swing adjustments I've made over the past year. But no, there was nothing. There was no like Zoom call or no like meetings beforehand with them. So it kind of came out of nowhere. But I'm super glad it did.
Have you ever been to the Toronto area?
No, I've only been out of the country once, and I've never been to Canada. So I'm looking forward to doing so at some point.
So I'm curious, what are a couple things you know about the Toronto area?
Well, it's called the Six, right? Because of like 6 boroughs around the city. And I heard it's a great city with a lot of different cultures, and it's a great place to go, and definitely a place that you need to see at some point in your life. So I'm really looking forward to getting up there and seeing it.
You were not the only Orleans Firebird who was taken by the Blue Jays. On June 11th, you're going to be joining Nick Frasso in the Toronto organization. Are you close with Nick? What's your relationship like with him?
So when I first got to Orleans last year, it was after we played in Omaha. So I got there a little late, and I met Nick. I think he was there a couple days until he had to leave for Team USA. But no, I met him. He's a super, super good dude, and looking forward to kind of meeting up with him at some point and starting to work out with the rest of the draft guys. So I'm definitely looking forward to that too.
Let's stay on Orleans. Due to the shortened spring season, your last full season of baseball was really with the Firebirds. What was your biggest takeaway or most important thing you learned in that summer that helped you get to where you are as an MLB professional baseball player?
I'll say the biggest thing I took from Orleans was just the routine that I had before games. I started it early on in the summer, did the same thing every single day, and it stuck with me, and I felt more prepared for games. And, it kind of became a thing that, yeah, I mean, you're not going through the motions, but it became so repetitive that, I really was able to kind of hone my skills and, have that good muscle memory and perform at the highest level I could day in and day out.
And you spent a few years at Louisville playing your spring
Mhm.
ball. What were some of your biggest takeaways or growth moments with the Cardinals?
So yeah, when I was at school, I mean, I faced a lot of adversity, whether it be injuries and stuff like that. But I would say like just learning how to be a man on and off the field definitely helped me learn how to be professional. Show up early, leave late. That's kind of my interpretation of being a professional. Be the first one there, last one to leave. And Louisville kind of helped instill that further in me. But no, it taught me how to be a man on and off the field, and all the coaches there just do a really good job of getting us to be professionals by the time we leave.
Well, you reflect that onto the people around you, I'm sure, as Orleans gave you the Harry Hosfeld Award for spirit, hard work, and leadership last summer. So everyone notices how you've grown as a person and see yourself
Hmm.
now. So congratulations on that award as well.
Thank you.
I've been giving everyone a chance who I've spoken to post draft to shout out anyone that you're thankful for has helped you along the way. If you want to drop some names out there.
Well, definitely my parents. They've been there all my whole life. Through anything. But now on this platform, I'd like to thank my teammates from last summer in Orleans and my coaches last summer from Orleans. So no, it was a great summer, and those guys up there were awesome teammates, and they helped me get better just being around them. So definitely have to thank those guys.
Which of those guys have you spoken to since last Thursday?
Let's see, Adam Seminaris, Zach Daniels, Shea Whitcomb, Josh Zamora, Max Troiani, Jacob Hurtubise, Zach Kokoska, like half the team. Zach Kokoska. Um, Trying to think who else. Tanner Murray, Ray Gill, Rob Emery, AJ Lewis, like pretty much everybody. Honestly, now that I think about it. But yeah, most of the team actually. So
Who's the first person who reached out to you from the Firebirds team or organization after your name was called?
uh, probably Zach Daniels, because I had texted him when he got picked, and I got picked like 3 or 4 picks later. So when he texted me back and said thanks, he also congratulated me, which is a pretty cool little thing we had there.
All right. So some people spent their draft nights waiting with large crowds. You mentioned you were just with your
Mhm.
family. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to who was the first person outside of your parents that you spoke to about the news?
Um, the Blue Jays called me right after the pick, but my coaches from school, they called me kind of right after the pick, and I think within 5 or 10 minutes after the pick got in, I had 250 messages, and no, so there was a ton of people texting me and calling me and saying congratulations, everything. It was pretty nuts.
Have you been able to get back to all of them if there were 200 plus?
I've tried. I've tried. A couple people have texted me back being like, "Why big time me?" No, I was like, "No, man, I missed it. Sorry." But yeah, I've gone back to pretty much everybody now.
Stay on Orleans. The 2020 Firebirds, as we all know, are not going to have a season. You
Hmm.
played in the summer on the Cape, and now you've been drafted into Major League Baseball. All of the guys' goal when they're playing in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Are there any words of advice you have for Firebirds in the future?
Yeah, just go out every day and give scouts and give teammates and give the other team and even the coaches the best representation of yourself that you can, because you're only on the Cape 40 games, and I know it feels like a lot more than that by the end of the summer, but you have to make the most out of every day and every game, and you know, the biggest thing about it is just try to leave your mark and play hard every single day.
We'll end it with one final question here. You've played at one of the top schools in the nation in terms of baseball, the top summer league in the country. You've played with a lot of guys who have been drafted and made it into the minor league systems. What have they told you or maybe even warned you about the life of a professional baseball player?
I've heard it's pretty similar to summer ball, especially a league like the Northwoods where you play like 80 games and you're playing almost every single day and the bus rides are long and stuff like that. But, as a professional now, I think that's something that comes along with the title. And it's only going to, I think, benefit those guys who've played in the Northwoods or played in the New England League in the Cape who've played every day against good competition with wood bats. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get going.
Awesome. I've actually got one more for you. Now that you're a professional baseball player, as of Thursday, June 11th, what was the first thing you did to celebrate or first thing you did after as a pro?
I think I went fishing the next morning, so I guess that counts as a celebration. I went and fished the next morning, pretty much the whole day. So
thanks so much, Zach. Really appreciate
you
taking the time on Meet the Bird Gang. I'm Jacob Kronberg for our very special guest, professional baseball player, Zach Britton. Thanks for watching Meet the Bird Gang.